Good morning, house guests, and welcome back to House of Chatter. Come on in, let me pour you some tea. First off, is Blake Lively involved in a criminal conspiracy? So, hear me out, guys. I know it's kind of late and we just got blasted with like a bunch of filings, but I think this is not a PR strategy. So, as you know, Jennifer Abel filed her second amended complaint. I have some major points that I got off of Reddit, and I'll just basically read what some the points that they listed off of Reddit, and then I'll go into my theory of this is not a PR stunt, but a way to taint the jury. Also, the sanctions is not a PR stunt. I think it is another way to escape, uh, an alleged criminal liability on Lively's part. And I also think that the last filing with Jamie Heath and the birthing video serves two purposes, and they're both going to be a win-win for Lively no matter what happens. So let's get into this court filing, and then we'll do a little bit a deeper dive into these conspiracies. So this is on Pacer. You do have to buy it. But some of the main points are also on Reddit. So the following paragraphs are part of Abel's counterclaims. I pulled the ones with redactions. The last two are spicy. So this post starts on number 54, or paragraph 54, I'm sorry. On August 7th, 2024, Abel contacted Jones's chief of staff, Gordon Duran, otherwise known as Duran, to coordinate the release of her phone number as Jones had promised when Abel had first joined Jonesworks several years before. Duran agreed, stating redacted. That doesn't seem unusual. Seems pretty standard SOP policies and procedures, right? 61. Jones had insisted on a security presence so they could blank. Duran later testified that blank. So this is where we're going to get into a little bit conspiracy. This says that Jones intentionally used, or this is alleging or alluding, in my opinion, that she intentionally used the security guard to retrieve something. So Duran knows exactly what Jones is doing. Way before anything. They're planning something illegal in the end. This is a conspiracy. Well, maybe a conspiracy involves more than two people, but this is still a freaking conspiracy. And I'm putting on my little, X-Files hat. Paragraph 68. By contrast, Jones gained unrestricted access to everything stored on Abel's phone, her text messages, emails, and personal photos. Jones could read her communications with her fiancé, parents, friends, everyone, to ensure she would retain Abel's data under any eventuality redacted. So Abel previously said that Jones was able to read her text messages in real time, all the way up into January, until she finally changed her iCloud password, and which is strange because she had to get all of those IT experts. So I would assume that they would tell her to change her password immediately. But anyways, so this reminded me um, of something that Britney Spears had accused her conservatorship of doing. Specifically, she mentioned a couple people of doing this, of mirroring your iPhone. So you can mirror, I guess you can mirror your iPhone with like a tablet. So you can get like the same messages. And this is what Britney Spears was alleging that her conservatorship was doing with her phone when they said that she wanted a phone. You know, does anybody remember that in that big, huge conservatorship? They were like bugging her house and like keeping track of her text messages, and they can see what she was doing and all of this stuff. And then they were trying to like supposedly prevent her. But, anyways, they were mirroring her phone. So I think this is what happened when Jones received not only the phone number, but the iCloud password and possibly like the PIN number to unlock your phone, is so that she can mirror it on another device. And another device would have to, I assume, this is all alleged and assumed, that it would have to be an iTunes account to be able to access that iCloud in real time. I go on. I'm so sorry. But it sounds like During has a lot of this information, which I wish they weren't these long redactions, but I really do think they mirrored the phone. Not just retrieved the paper or whatever, but actually mirrored it in real time. By contrast, Jones gained unrestricted access. Oh, we already read that one. I'm sorry. 72. Among the communications reviewed, discussed, and disseminated by Jones and her cohorts were highly intimate messages between Abel and her friends about their lives. Redacted. This exchange, along with many others of a similar personal nature, are no longer in the exclusive possession, custody, and control of Abel and those she intended to communicate with, as they should have remained. Instead, they were widely distributed by Jones to her team, to Lively, to the press, and to untold others, and ultimately Bates stamped and captured for posterity in this and the related litigation. So this, if this is true, that means somehow maybe this is all connected to the press. And I do think that this was all planned out from the beginning when Wayfair refused to give Blake Lively a producer role at the beginning of contract negotiations. Does anybody remember that? She originally wanted to be producer, but they had agreed on executive producer until Lively brought up safety concerns in the beginning. And I really think that this was more of a toxic work environment that they were planning, but instead they took, advantage of Jones in the situation and exploited all of this on top of it and made it more severe than what they had already planned. Just my opinion, allegedly. Oh my God, do not subpoena me. Okay, 74. Not only did Jones steal communications of a personal nature, she also stole privileged communications between Abel and Jessup regarding Abel's new business. Jones did so knowing full well that Jessup was Abel's attorney. Redacted. Oh my goodness. That means Lively is also involved in all of this. Notwithstanding Jones' general disengagement, it is not true that she was kept in the dark. To the extent she was out of the loop, it was by choice. Jones was copied on virtually all communications during this period and was privy to Wayfair's predicament and its chosen strategy of non-confrontation. If that's true, she's in doo-doo. Had there been a smear campaign, as was later alleged by her and the Lively parties, Jones would undoubtedly have known about it in real time. Redacted admitted Jones in an email on August 21, 2024. I wonder if that person is either James Vestuska or Leslie Sloan. Who do you think that person is? Paragraph 88. The blatant disregard of Wayfair's strategy sparked a chain of unfortunate developments. Sloan and Sony learned that purportedly someone from Baldoni's team had been communicating negatively to media. Redacted. This blatant guard, Sloan, is reportedly someone from Baldoni's to the media. So that might be Jonesworks or Stephanie Jones. When Wayfair's leadership found out, they were livid, as was Sony. All parties were desperate to prevent an all-out slugfest between Lively and Baldoni, just as the film was about to be released to the world. With her reckless and unauthorized activities, Jones had made that scenario much more likely. In response, Wayfair instructed Jones to cease all activities on its and Baldoni's behalf for the time being, and to let Abel and another Los Angeles-based Jonesworks employee, Matthew Mitchell, handle the crisis alongside Nathan. I don't remember seeing his name, but anyways. 97. On or about August 24th, Jones took things a step further and attempted to contact Lively through a mutual connection. Long redaction. So maybe she wasn't successful. I wonder if that might be Claire Ayub. Because then we go a little bit further, and then we're a few days later, it states, Jones again reached out to blank, then connected Jones and Lively directly. Oh my God. In advance of the call, long redaction. August 24th. A few days later wouldn't that be the Ayub phone call? Or am I getting the timeline mixed up? I wonder. I really wonder. 98. Ruling from a storm of negative publicity, Lively instructed redacted. Lively and Jones spoke by phone approximately a week later. Maybe Lively instructed Leslie Sloan to set up an appointment, and Lively and Jones spoke by phone approximately a week later. Allegedly, in my opinion. Redacted. A few days later, Lively followed up with redacted. Could that be Leslie Sloan? Because it's not Jones. Maybe it is. However, it is now well known that Jones transmitted the contents of Abel's iPhone to Lively, who in turn disseminated them more widely, including to the New York Times. So I was listening to the other content creators, and there's more to this. Apparently, Lively somehow knew that she could not give this to the New York Times because the New York Times wasn't going to take anything basically illegally obtained, right? And I guess there might be an attempt or a thought. And so Lively had to go get the Van Sham subpoena, then give it to Jones or whatever, and then give it to the New York Times. This is where the theory gets crazy. So hear me out. These recent court filings, number one, by the New York Times, when they filed their sanctions and filed to be like dismissed, enhanced, and just whatever, it kind of clicked in my head that maybe they are trying to close the door and trying to outrun criminal conspiracy allegedly, or any type of conspiracy theory, because now the Wayfair parties and Jen Abel have a lot more evidence and they found a lot more things. And if they can connect that maybe to Megan Twohey, and maybe if Blake Lively reached out to Megan Twohey and said, hey, I have these things, and she's like, well, how did you get them? And she's like, well, I took them from the phone. Then they're going to be like, hey, we're not going to do that. Because how else are they going to know ahead of time that the New York Times is not going to take illegally obtained material, right? And in that, wouldn't Lively also have to tell her lawyer the reason why she is doing a Van Sham lawsuit? Right? And it's Manat, the same lawyer firm that's representing her now, did Van Sham. So did Blake Lively go and say, hey, Manat, I have illegally obtained information from this phone. I need a subpoena so that I can give it to Jonesworks so that I can give it to the New York Times, and we need to cloak it in a CRD complaint. Wouldn't that make the lawyers involved in a basically illegal dissemination through whatever? Okay, I know it's unethical, but could it be even criminal? And now I'm kind of going off in a tangent. But these sanctions as a whole, I think it's not a PR strategy like everybody's saying. Hey, it catches everybody's attention. It puts Wayfair in a negative light. It paints Lively as a victim. Great PR. But remember, right now, we are essentially 5 months away from a trial. Okay? Everything has been splashed over YouTube, and most Americans receive their news over social media anyways. She knows that the content creators are going to be reporting on this every single step of the way, but not necessarily the mainstream media. She knows that mainstream media, there's the population who are reading that is lower compared to social media. So what I think she's doing is she's not doing a PR, but she's doing a distraction to tank the jury pool. So in the case of Jamie Heath, right, she said that she's accusing him of not having a full video or the full context or whatever, that she doesn't remember this. Now, mind you, this is a water birth, okay? You're in a tub that you're pretty much sitting like neck deep in or shoulders deep in, and you're literally sitting. So you're not on your back, right? Because you would drown. No one is floating you on a pool noodle to keep you above water. All of you is submerged. So unless they had an underwater camera, you're not going to see what Lively depicted. Also, she said she saw a second of it. Now she wants more than 3 minutes of it. Isn't that a little bit strange? You don't remember what you saw, but what we gave you is not what you saw. You just assumed. Okay, whatever. But anyways, I think she's going to say, hey, they didn't give me this piece of information, blah, 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 right? If the judge grants what she wants. If he does not grant what she wants, it is still going to be a win for Lively. Why do I say that? I say that because in the Amber Heard trial, when she was testifying on the stand, she said that there was evidence that was not allowed in court. And if it was allowed in court, she would be able to prove her point. that was like struck from the record, but she was able to say that in front of the jury. At another time in her testimony, when she was on the stand, she also had mentioned, "That's not my job," when she was referring to evidence that supposedly admitted into court. I kind of got the feeling at that time that she was alluding that her lawyers weren't doing their job because they couldn't get this special evidence admitted into court or whatever. And I think that's what Lively is planning on saying if she ever gets on the stand is, "Hey, my lawyers didn't get this or wasn't able to successfully argue this and it hampered this." So then she'll turn herself into another victim. Now, sanctions, not necessarily a PR stunt, but at this point, with all of the rumors saying that she has been separated from Ryan Reynolds for a year, he's not paying her legal bills, yada, yada, yada. If that is true, these sanctions do two things. One, first, I really do think it protects the lawyers, right, from Lively's allegations, misremembering, you know, not false truths, but you know, false facts. I don't know. Um, Lawyers might be protecting themselves by filing these things, right? Hey, spoliation, we're covering our butts, whatever, whatever, in connection with Lively. Also, I think Lively is not only doing a PR stunt with the sanctions, but she's also covering her butt. And if she's successful in her sanctions, she'll receive money that she can later use to put back into the pot of defending herself now against these possible, in my opinion, possible allegedly criminal allegations. If this is true, this sounds like she illegally took information off of the phone and didn't have it. She wasn't able to access, and I'm talking about Jen Abel, she wasn't able to access bank accounts, health accounts, retirement accounts, different things like that, monitoring things between family and whatnot. She's begging to get her phone number back. Not even the phone, but the phone number. But they needed the phone number to attach the iCloud, to access the iCloud to put into the phone. I think that's what happened, honestly. But anyways, so that's it for the sanctions. Also, kind of covers the New York Times as well. However, I think with all of these sanction motions and Lively admitting that this wasn't evidence, I think the New York Times was kind of bracing for that, or maybe got a clue like, "Hey, we're going to file these sanctions saying that we don't have evidence, but you said that we had this evidence and you printed it. And now in court filings, we're saying that we don't have evidence. So now we look like liars and you look like liars in print." Do you see what I'm saying? I think the New York Times was trying to race before all of these sanctions came out in hopes that they were done and over with to escape more liability. Now it just looks like all of these sanction motions can be used against the New York Times. Let me know what you think on that one. Okay. It also proves that the lawyers had prior knowledge that there was no evidence to begin with when it came to the Van Sham, right? Because in Lively's deposition, what she had said, if she had, to the question, if she had any not a personal knowledge of a smear campaign, didn't she say no, other than what my attorneys told me or lawyers told me? She didn't specifically say what the lawyers told her. The lawyers could have told her there was no smear campaign, and that would still fall under other than what the lawyers told me. You get it? This is a whole, oh my goodness. This is all comes down to linguistics and terms at this point. Especially when it's coming to, you know, this looks really bad. This looks like there might be criminal charges. I mean, wire tapping. This is just so, this is bad for everybody. Jonesworks, they've already lost. Whether Blake wins or loses, she's done. Okay, no one's ever going to trust her again. No one is ever going to work for her again. Lively, she better stay married to Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds better escape criminal liability too, because from what I understand, he also has a couple of lawsuits, or at least one lawsuit going as well. And he's also been accused of spoliation and doing some crazy stuff with bots and whatnot on his social media smear campaign thing going on. But anyways, that is my theory on Blake Lively trying to distract from the alleged criminal liability that she might be facing. At the very least, this is a very strong conspiracy between two people. And now it just looks like this was a smear campaign in reverse. And it's going to be very interesting to see what else Lively does. I do think Lively is going to do more sanctions. Without a doubt, she's going to do more sanctions again in hopes of tainting that jury pool, because we are 5 months away. It is right around the corner, and no one is forgetting this. Nobody. And this is going to be splashed on like all the magazines. And right now, she's trying to bury everything. Sanctions, sanctions, sanctions. It's the hot topic. But right now, the phone and those text messages are going to be the hot topic once everybody gets a read at this, especially TMZ. All right, guys, let me know what you think. Let me know what I should cross-examine Miss Blake Lively on my cross-examination series. I do think that I am going to do a video on the home birth, and then, you know, maybe her taking things out of context. So if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, comment, like, share, and we'll see you next time, house guests. Thanks, guys.